my experience recovering from prostate removal, which took place 11 days ago. So this is day 11 of my recovery from prostate removal. So I'll just tell it like a story. I'll just tell the little story of what it was like going for the operation and then coming home. That's probably the easiest way. And the purpose of doing this is because I watched a lot of videos about people going through this operation removal, laparoscopic or whatever they call it, removal of the prostate. And I found it helpful. Every experience is different. So by watching many different videos, different men going through this experience, it was helpful. So I'll give my experience. I have all the usual wounds. I guess I should start by showing that, So there's lots of wounds. I counted 6 incisions. For a camera or whatever the robotics device. So the first thing I showed up, it was a Friday morning. I showed up at 6 in the morning. Then there's intake about 6:30. I'm getting wheeled into the operating room. It was funny, from the intake room going to the operating room was an experience. Being on this steel stretcher, wheeled through the hospital, through the labyrinth, corridors to elevators, down more corridors, through different rooms. In order to not get motion sickness, I kept my eyes closed, because when you're lying there on your back and you're seeing the ceiling lights and everything going like this, it gave me a moment of motion sickness, so I closed my eyes and listened. I wish I'd had my audio recorder recording all the sound. It would have been neat to have microphones attached to that stretcher. It reminded me of the Beatles' Revolution No. 9 on their White Album, that audio collage that the Beatles did. One of my favorite Beatle tunes. For example, walking through a room where there were a lot of women lined up. I don't know what they were doing. I just heard all this laughter of women, and then you go into another room and it's each corridor, each room had a different sound, a different type of sound dramatic sound. And then finally, I opened my eyes as they wheeled me into the operating room. Then I closed them again because it was kind of scary looking at all the huge lights and machines and things. It made me a little nervous. So then they do the customary questions. Did you eat anything? You're not supposed to eat past midnight the previous day. Of course I didn't. I was conscientious. I ate 9 p.m. the previous day. And then you're not supposed to drink alcohol after and stay away from coffee for a while and stuff like that. Then the operation happens. You're out. Boom. One moment you're talking to the anesthesiologist or whatever. The person giving the anesthetics is talking to you and trying to make you feel at ease. And then it's done. The surgeon booked the operating room for 4 hours. I don't know how much of that time they were actually digging around in my body. It's considered to be a major operation. Now, this is part of the story of my personal experience. I thought it was just going to be another minor thing because, I had reconstructive ligament surgery on my left knee, and I had an inguinal hernia operation, and they were a piece of cake. I just was bouncing around after the operation. So I thought it was going to be more of the same. And to my shock, I experienced the worst pain I'd ever experienced in my entire life. I was in overnight in the hospital, hooked up to a whole bunch of things. I had bruises, I looked like a bionic man, a whole bunch of needles stuck in the back of my hand, taking blood samples every few hours, and a catheter and the whole works. Most painful moment in my entire life up to this point was when I was discharged and I walked out of the hospital across the street to a taxi. I was with one of my daughters, and I started to get into the taxi, and I plopped my butt on the back seat, and it felt like someone was sticking a knife into me. I felt vividly all the incisions suddenly were like as if there was no anesthetic. It felt like being stabbed, so I just shouted, and my daughter grabbed my hand and pulled me out of the taxi. And I said, I can't get in there. The taxi driver tried to convince me that I could. And I said, I'm sorry, I can't. And fortunately, I live a 10-minute walk from the hospital. So I walked very slowly, adrenaline rush from this moment of pain. So I made it home. It was so painful. The only comfortable positions were standing up or reclining, and I couldn't sit down without help. She had to grab my hand and sort of lower me onto the chair. And when it came time to sleep, again, I'd be upright like this, and then she would just sort of slowly lower me. The first couple nights, I slept just reclining. I couldn't even lie down. And then the third night, I was able to lie flat, and that felt good to be able to stretch out flat on my side. So practical issues. One of the big issues is the catheter bag I have. This is an old one. You got to make sure that you get this screwed tightly into the hose. Otherwise, when you bend or twist or something, it can disconnect, and that happened to me. In the night, I rolled over and, well, here's my night bag here, if I can get it out. I rolled over and, oh, come on, it's hard, it's hooked up. I'm trying to keep everything sterile too so I don't get infection. But yeah, see, this is the night bag, and this is the spigot here. The other thing is on my leg here. I can't. I'm single-handed. I can't move the camera, so it's on my leg, and it pulled out of the spigot, and a little bit of urine came out. Fortunately, I reacted fast, and most of the urine went into the sheets, so I quickly changed the bed sheets and then went back to sleep. So practical tips that I didn't know beforehand is. It depends, as someone else on one of their little video talks recommended the same thing. I went to the corner store and got Depends. I take a size large. Because in my case, it was bizarre and freaky and scary. It was every time I would try to have a bowel movement, blood would spurt out. And I thought, oh my God, what the heck is going on here? When I would go for a walk, my pants would be full of blood. I filled several pairs of boxer shorts and a couple pairs of trousers with blood. So then that's when I got the Depends. I bought them so that then I could move around and not have blood all over the place. The blood would be in the diaper. I've contacted the nurse, the urology nurse, who's very nice. The nurse is wonderful, so I could phone her. So that is an amazing thing. In this day and age, to be able to pick up the phone when you're in distress and talk to a voice. This is the actual nurse of the surgeon, and tell her what was wrong. And then she said it's bladder spasms. As long as the urine is clear, you're okay. So anyway, I'm going to see her in another 7 days. 7 days from now, I will go and see her in person. The other thing is food. I could not eat regularly. I couldn't eat for 7 days, pretty much. For the first 3 days, I just drank water and ate a slice of bread and peanut butter, or toasted it, toast and peanut butter, and yogurt, banana, grapes, things like that, and a little bit of porridge, oatmeal. And then after about 7 days, I was able to eat a regular meal. Well, because for 4 days I was constipated, and then it was on the fourth day when I was able to have a bowel movement, then I was able to eat, and then gradually, there was a lot of nausea. It took a while, and then the appetite slowly comes back, eating boiled eggs and vegetables and stuff and tofu. So now I'm sort of in a bit of a daze. I don't feel the greatest, but they say that's normal. I have to take a lot of naps. I guess the most I would walk would be maybe a kilometer now. So there was no appetite. Could only drink and eat very small quantities, and then gradually building up. You know what really freaked me out? I won't show it because I don't want to shock the viewer. But my scrotum is now the size of a grapefruit. It's huge. It's scary. It's dark. And my penis looks like a baseball glove. And again, the nurse said that happens sometimes, in some cases, so don't freak out. Again, it seems the key feature is the urine going in the bag is reasonably clear. These are peculiarities that happen after the operation. Don't panic. Eventually, everything, the scrotum and penis will return to their normal size and appearance. But to keep up my spirits, I took a few photos. I don't know if it's permitted to show these kind of photos, so I won't. But for fun, I put a piece of absorbent paper from a sketchbook on the next to the toilet, and then when the blood came spurting out, I did a couple of blood paintings, spontaneous blood paintings, where I go onto the paper. I really don't know what's going on with the blood. A lot of blood, a quarter cup of blood or several tablespoons of blood. And it looks like a crime scene in the bathroom. I have to clean it up every day. Blood all over the toilet, all over the floor. And then even in the kitchen, I walked in the kitchen and I was flipped out one time and there's a trail of blood all through the kitchen, this tile floor. Fortunately, easy to wipe up. So that's my experience. And I keep up my morale by reading comics. A lot of funny comic books. And I got my classical guitar. I always say music is one of the best medicines along with laughter. And so I play guitar every day, classical guitar. My repertoire is Villa-Lobos and Bach. That's what I like to play the most on guitar, and along with, of course, all the other standard stuff. So that's it. Anyone going for surgery, be of good cheer, good luck. Don't be depressed. The idea is my way of not getting depressed or discouraged or freaked out or scared is to be curious, to look at it with an attitude of curiosity, like I'm an explorer. I'm going into the mountains and I'm hiking through the mountains and I'm looking at the scenery and I'm saying, wow, that's interesting, rather than saying, oh, what's going to happen, and so when the blood spurts out, I say, oh, okay, that could make an interesting art project. Or, being wheeled down the corridors, you could say, oh my God, I'm going to the operation room. I say, well, no, this is a fantastic soundtrack. I like if I had my field recorder, this little Zoom H5 here. Wow, that would make awesome soundtrack. The sound of being pushed through various elevators, corridors, rooms in a giant hospital complex in a large city. So that's the story. I was very lucky to have people to help. You get by with a little help from your friends. Honestly, that's the truth. I'm very grateful to the people who helped me through this. That really boosts the morale when people check in on you. So good luck to everybody. Be of good cheer, and I hope it all goes well for everyone.